is around third of the way down. Shneim Peturim. They're both potter, the Oni and the Yoshi. In other words, one does the Akir and one does the Anoch, they're both potter. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha b'Shem Bechizkiah said, and Rabbanim b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan said, Mishum Shnaim Shosum Malacha Achas, because two individuals did the Malacha. Now this does not seem to me to be the way the Bavli learns, although I can't tell you with certainty because the Bavli doesn't say anything exactly about this. Bavli seems to take it as an assumption. Well, if you don't do a complete Malacha, one does the Akir, one does the Anocha, then it's not a complete malacha. But here he's saying that it's a I don't know, it might just be semantics, but he's saying that the exemption is because two people did the malacha. Not that each person didn't do a full malacha, but rather two people participated in the malacha, and that's why you have an exemption. I don't know any ramification, any practical difference, but that's the difference.
Split it,
right.
The whole thing.
Right, they split it. And here we're saying that both participated, that's the shortcoming.
Was it Zayach?
Yeah, but the Bavi never introduced that concept by Otzah. By this early, at least in Otzah. That's where two people carried out together, but not where each person did part of the malacha. All right. Says Umar, Rav Shol Rebbe, Rav asked Rebbe, Nasalo Acher Chavilo Al Ksefo. If somebody else put a bundle on your shoulders, now the Mashbiach says here's a typo. It should be V'hotzia. Tell you the word V'shach will move. V'hotzia, and he took out the bundle. What's his halacha? Now put in the word V'shachach, and Rebbe forgot what the answer was. B'machzora tinyana, in the second time around, which is tantalizing, of course. What was the second time around? Nobody knows for sure, obviously. The second time around, Amarle Rebbe responded and said, Chayev, you are liable. She'eno doime lo losa. It's not similar to our Mishnah. What do we mean it's not similar to our Mishnah? In this case, it's not the pshat that two people participate in the malacha. No. The person who had the object, put it on his back and then moved, did the full malacha. Why is that? Because Sava Rebbe Old came and Sha'okas Raglov, once he uprooted his legs, Kimosha Okar es Achebetz, is as if he uprooted the object, which we paskin, right? That Akira's Gufo is Akira. You don't have to do Akira with your hand, you can do Akira with your body. The movement of your body is considered to be a form of Akira. Okay? Al Daiti to Rebbe, according to Rebbe's line of opinion. If a person is standing in a public domain, and he threw something, and then he ran to Rishus Yachid and caught it himself in Rishus Yachid. What's the halacha in that case? So the Gemara says, "What's your question?" Anyway, v'lo Rebbe who. Are you not asking questions to the Rebbe? The Rebbe Ovid Mechitzas K'mamashon. We know already. Rebbe says that the airspace of a Shusayachid. So you don't need him to catch it. Even if he didn't catch it, of course there's a chiyuv here because the object went into a Shusayachid. So says more. You're right. Lo tzurcha da law. I'm not asking this question except, right, the law in the Yerushalmi very often contraction of da ella. I'm not asking this question except in the following case, the opposite case. Typo. It should be b'rshus hayachid. I forgot to rectify. Usually I get them in my Gemara, but should be b'rshus hayachid. The person was standing in Rishus Yachid, v'zorak, and he threw. Because of it killed Rishus Harabim, and he caught it in Rishus Harabim. In other words, in Rishus Harabim, he caught it in midair. What's the status then? Ashkach Tani, so they found the price that says, Rebbe Poita Shah Shetanuach. Rebbe says you're exempt until it lands on the ground. In other words, you're catching in midair, is not considered as if it lands in Rishus Harabim. In that case, you're a potter until it hits the ground.
But it was in the airspace of the other Rishus.
Of Rishus Hayachid, but never landed in the airspace of Rishus Harabim. Because you caught it. You arrested it.
Yesterday we had something about catching it in the trajectory.
We said you're potter there. Similar idea here, okay? But the chiddush is that a key here, hanachas kufa is not hanachas chayfetz. So even though you caught it and your body is holding it, it's still not considered to be munach reshus harabim. So it's to have arrested the trajectory of the object and on its way to reshus harabim. And not according to what we learned yesterday, it makes no difference. It makes no difference. Okay? Excuse me. Rabbi Ovid, I'm Rabbi Ovid. Rabbi Ovid said Rabbi and Ben Azai and Rabbi Akiva, they all said the same thing, which is not exactly true, but they all have a similar underlying svara. What is that? Rabbi Ovid Mechitzas Kimamoshan. Rabbi says the airspace between walls is like a solid block of ground. Ben Azai Ovid Avir Karmelis K'mamosha. Ben Azai says the airspace of a Karmelis is like a solid block of ground. Where Ben Azai say that?
Taking something out of Rishus Rabbim, out of Rishus Karmelis to Rishus Rabbim, he says, it's Ben Azai. What I just said was reviewed.
No, it's Ben Azai.
It was Ben Azai?
Yeah. Ben Azai argues Rabbi Echla.
So if he argues that he says that you're putter.
Right. Why? This is the difference far than I told you yesterday, though. I told you yesterday as far as because each step is hanocha. What is he saying here? The person walks through a karmelis as if he's walking through a solid block of wood. How should I put this? The karmelis envelops him, and therefore Mahalach is kohen medami. He's walking through a halachically fictional block of matter. He's not walking through space. So therefore, this matter, by definition, gives him the status of a karmelis. And that's why if he walks through, even if he continually passes through, from a Rishus Hayach to Rishus Haram via karmelis, he remains exempt. Why? Because the karmelis, even though he didn't stop there, becomes by definition, just like we say about Rishus Hayach, and it's commanded Maya Damya, it's as if it's full, so to the karmelis as if it's full. Okay? Very big chiddush. Yes. Alright? So that's the test. Ben Avir Ovid Avir Karmelis Kimamosha. Rabbi Akiva Avir Shusa Rabin Kimamosha. Rabbi Akiva holds that even the airspace Shusa Rabin up to 10 Tfachim is as if it's substantial, and anything which is over Shusa Rabin as if it's landed. That's Rabbi Akiva's principle in the Bible known as Klutok Mishun Chodamya. So which is in 10 foot in the ground as if it's less than on the ground. Arba Rishus Shabbos. There are 4 Rishus for Shabbos. Rishus HaYochid, Rishus HaRabim, Karmelis. Now the next one is a surprise. In the Bible, the 4th one is Makom P'tur. Here it's Mevo She'ena Mefulashim. Dead end streets. Interesting, right? Okay, now we're going to discuss that. Vezer Rishus HaYochid, what is Rishus HaYochid? Choritz, a furrow, Shuama Kasar, which is 10 Tvachim deep, V'rochav Arbon, 4 Tvachim wide. Or V'gader, a fence, Shugavar Asar, which is 10 Tvachim high, V'rochav Arbon, 4 Tvachim wide. So Rishus HaYochid, where there's a complete and total Rishus HaYochid. Vezer Rishus HaRabim, or what's complete and total Rishus HaRabim? Istartaya, it's a thoroughfare or highway, or a platya, a plaza where many people gather, umidbar, a desert. Now this is when I wrote the Erevin book, which is coming to America tomorrow, by the way. So I mentioned that the Rambam Shita is that a midbar is a Rishus HaRabim. And that everybody asks the Tzorachin on the Rambam, how could a midbar be Rishus HaRabim? But here it is. It's Yerushalmi. It does Rishus HaRabim. The Pashup Pshat would be to say that it's Bisman that the Am Yisrael is in the midbar. And not the Pashup shot. The easiest way out would be to say that it's the when Am Yisrael's in the Midbar. But it sounds like a contemporary statement on the part of the Yerushalmi that when the Yerushalmi was written, Midbar is still considered to be Rishus HaRabim. It's a remarkable chiddush.
That's what Shaul Lieberman says about many of the problems of the Rambam, that the Rambam is really drawing upon the Yerushalmi. They only look to the Yerushalmi.
Oh, it's in the Rabbi Menachem Kasher's Sefer.
Says that?
A Rambam V'Mechilta de Rashbi. Yes, he has a whole sefer in which he derives the psuk in the Rambam Mechilta de Rashbi, and the yeshiva has a copy. And I think he gives a list of 100 places where the Rambam passes like Yerushalmi. Yeah. Okay, so this I guess is the Rambam source, but I still don't know the Svara. Why should a desert be Rishus HaRabim? It's nice to see it in print, but why should it be that way? I do not know.
But didn't we discuss this in the Bible? It's because there's an open area in Israel where in the desert there were 600,000 and that was it.
Yeah, but now it's not. Now it should be a Carmelist. People don't travel there unless it's a highway. It's a difficult thing. Maybe that's what you could say is a cop out. That it's there.
You're the one who copped out. I think you're the one who said that. I thought you were the one.
It's entirely possible.
I think that's where I got it.
But that's not on tape, and this is. So the cop out one could say for outside that I did say is that once we achieve the status of Sarabim, it leaves she retains its status for all time. Okay. Umivos am fulashim, umivos shloim open streets. This is the umivos.
But of course, the problem with that is that by saying that we're saying that once you have the necessary number of people in that area, you don't care whether there are necessary people there now, as long as there once were.
That's right. It retains its status as a highway.
That's difficult.
It is difficult, yes. Okay, now here he says that Vosam Fulashim, those are avenues which are open to Rishus HaRabim. They open up to Rishus HaRabim either side of them. One may not take from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaRabim, nor nor bring him from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYochi. If you brought it out, or Ichnisa brought in, Shoygeg on it, actually, Chayav Chatos, you're allowed to read Chatos, makes it if it's intentional, Chayav Kores, you are Chayav excision. Veniskan, we stone you. This is true whether you do outside. Take out or bring in. Whether you extend your hand, or you toss. No matter what, it's the same halacha.
Kores here is not literal.
What else is it?
Well, then why is there also shiur?
That's if there are 8. Yeah, 8 and Asra. Okay? Yeah. A sea, ubika, and an open field, an area which has open fields, istava. Istava is like a ledge. I don't know if I call it a sidewalk, that would be misleading, but a ledge in front of stores in Rishus HaRabim. So that's not part of actually the thoroughfare. It's like a ledge in front of the stores. Vaskup on a threshold, the Carmelist and a Carmelist, which is like an open area. They're not Rishus HaRabim nor Rishus HaYochi. They're in the between. One is not allowed to literally negotiate them, but here it means that they're not allowed to carry. You're not allowed to carry it within them. Nasam, but if you did carry within them, parts you are exempt. Why are you exempt? Obviously, because it's only this is the Rabbanan, not this is the Raisa, right? Rabbi said, we also learned all these things in the Mishnah. Yam. How do you know that a sea is like a Carmelist? The sea that we learned over there. Or if somebody throws 4 amos in the water, in a lake, or in a sea, or in a river, he's exempt. It's not just and it's not just true if you threw 4 amos. Ella, Bayam in the sea. Ella, if you toss them to a much greater extent, your parts are exempt because that's not considered Rishus HaRabim. So you don't have the prohibition of 4 amos Rishus HaRabim. Shekolayam nikra Carmelis, because the entire sea is called the Carmelis. Bika. What about a bika? A field area with open fields. How do we know that's a karmelis? The thing we learned. Bika bimosa bikas or a bika bimosa chama in the summer. Rishus hayochid l'Shabbos. It's Rishus hayochid vis-a-vis Shabbos. And Rishus haram l'tuma. It's a public domain, however, vis-a-vis tuma. In other words, vis-a-vis the halacha that's safek tuma Rishus harabim. Sfeiko what? If you have a safek tuma Rishus harabim, tar, the safek is tar, right? So it's going to be a public area, even though you don't have 600,000 people or whatever the case may be. What people are going by, that's sufficient in order to say that a safek tuma, a question of tuma, it remains tar. If it's the rainy season, however, so the big typo here, it should be Rishus hayochid l'kan l'kan. So not so many people pass by. So Rishus hayochid both vis-a-vis the halacha of Shabbos and vis-a-vis the halacha of Tuma. Okay? Says the Gemara. Now, you might say that it's Rishus hayochid, and it's a literal Rishus hayochid, which means you don't need any subsequent rectification. If you do take it literally, however, you say it's Rishus hayochid vis-a-vis both Shabbos and Tuma in the rainy season, literally speaking. So lo teituna kofa clay behema. If a caravan camps in a karpav, it should not be required that it encircle itself with the saddles. We're going to have the beginning of Erevin. That if you're in a camp in the desert, desert might be a bad example because the desert is just a Rambam, according to Rambam. But if you're in a chveis, but not a settled one. What's the word? Prairie. Prairie, or on Shabbos, so you have to make yourself a enclosure, right? So the chayra, if it's Rishus hayochid, you don't need an enclosure. So it must be the tina nikifur clay behema metalim misocha. Only if you surround with saddles, so it's sufficient. So it must be that it's not a. It must be that a midrabanan it requires some sort of rectification. Okay, that's the status of a karmelis. Says Mar Istava. What's this little ledge? The Tanina, where do we see it from actually? Then we learned v'chein gesharmam fulashim. If you have open bridges, talfin tachtein b'Shabbos, allowed to carry underneath them on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, v'chachomim mosim chachamim forbid carrying under the bridges. So,
what does under the bridge mean? Does it mean that we're dealing with a covered bridge?
No, it's a bridge which has underneath. It's like a suspension bridge.
Underneath the suspension.
It's not over the sea. We're not talking about. We're talking about on land under the bridge.
Oh, it's not over the water.
No, the bridge is over the water, but part of it is over land.
We're dealing with the part over the land.
Right. So in that part, we say you're allowed to carry underneath. You're allowed to carry, huh? Yeah. Then you can now carry underneath. Divi Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Now the shaila is, if an istavo was not, this is kind of like a ledge. Yeah, look at the Korban Korban is 4 lines up from where it starts getting medium sized. Do you see that? So he says, Avalom Chayvin. It's also carried there, but it's not a chiyuv the rice mishum lo nichot tashmishte, because it's not easy to use it there. So uadin istava, the same thing is true about the istava, which is a ledge in front of the stores in Rishus Harabim. It's not easy to use, so therefore it doesn't have the status of Rishus Harabim, but rather only the status of a karmelis. Okay, so far so good. Says more further.
When did the Korban live?
The 1700s, Germany. Kain Moshe is a Litvak. Korban is a Yaka. I actually, the yeshiva world usually uses, when they learn Yerushalmi, they usually use the Pnei Moshe. But I find the Korban pretty good. I'm pretty impressed by him. He didn't write on the Zoroim, obviously. Here it says, Seder Moed Noshim Esa Golden Mar David Frankel, Rav based in Tequila Gdosha, Berlin. name Moshe was at one time in Amsterdam, but he was a Rebbe then in Zamut, which is near Lithuania, which I guess is how the Gemara met him. Okay, says more further. Iskupa, a threshold. How we know a threshold could be a karmelis? The Tina we learned. So he takes food out of Shusiyah, puts it down on a threshold. And whether he takes him out subsequently, somebody else takes it out. Potter, it's exempt. He didn't do all of his malach in one fell swoop. If he did his malach in one fell swoop, he's chaya, right? Benaz says afilu mosam malach v'asachas. Even if he did his malach in one fell swoop, he's potter because malach omidami. So it's as if he stopped in the karmelis. Now, whatever we said, what be that as it may, what's the point while we're bringing down this machlokas here? To show us that karmelis is neutral. Not neutral, but it's neither shusayos shusarabim. So, and therefore the karmelis take into account, you're always potter, midoraisa, only isra the rabana. Right? It's rabbinic ptur. Ezui karmelis, what is the karmelis? Rabbi Yasa, B'Shem Rabbi Elam said, Kigon Chandusei de Bar Yustane. I guess there's certain areas.
Can you skip Carmelis Tani?
Yeah, Carmelis Tani Road.
Oh yeah, you're right, I did. Carmelis. Tani Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia taught us what is the Carmelis? Carmel. Now Carmel is pasuk, in Vayikra. Aviv Kolui Beish Geres Carmel. That's how your mincha should be. What does Carmel mean? Rach, soft, molei, and full. The grain should be soft and full. Eino lo lach, it's not too dry, v'lo yavesh, nor too moist. Ela beinoni, it's only average or medium. Hacha, here too, eino lo rishus rabim, lo rishus hayachid. Ella karmelis. Karmelis is just right. Ezui karmelis. What's a karmelis? Rabbi Yasser Shabbat said, Kikon Chanosei de Bar Yustane. It's like the stores of Bar Yustane, which I guess would consider prime example of karmelis. You probably have to have been there in order to experience it. Chotzer Shel Rabim. Now, this is an interesting thing. If you think about it for a minute, again, I didn't put this in my book. I really didn't think of this. According to Yerushalmi's definition of karmelis, you can never make an erev in a karmelis. Doesn't belong to anybody.
Oh, that's right.
Midrabanan, in order to make an eruv, this belongs to somebody, and you have to be self or rishus or make an eruv with the guy. The karmelis is by definition open space. So they hold an eruv would not be effective there. There's nothing you can do about it. Midrabanan, Midrabanan is just surrounded with walls. That's enough. Midrabanan, there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck. Okay, interesting concept. So, look at the next line. I guess I didn't read the line here. A public, a yard which belongs to many people, and streets which do not go through, in other words, dead ends. If they make an eruv, it's okay. If they don't make an eruv, it's not okay. What can make an eruv? Only these two things. What cannot make an eruv? Draw your own conclusions.
So you're saying this is the limits to an eruv?
Yeah. If you think about it, that's really the case. All eruvim are made in modern municipal areas. The truth is, even in an unincorporated area nowadays, everything is owned. But back then, not everything was owned.
Something Robin here, though. Chutzner is already a limiter.
Okay.
Robin is just
So the chutzner belongs to a solitary individual who doesn't need an eruv in order to carry. And only when they're partners do you need an eruv.
I understand.
Yeah.
But then the Robin implies it's the public. It's not.
No, I understand. Right. It's not. That's not the case. You're right.
Now, our streets are considered karmelis.
No. It's in because they're owned by the city and we rent the right to carry them from the city. So That's not. Otherwise, it'd be a trouble. That's how they make it work.
If you had a forest that didn't belong to anybody, it was within the boundaries of the state, it belongs to the state.
Belongs to the state. They didn't have that concept in the old days. They really didn't. It's even a modern concept. Belongs to nobody. Okay. Says Gemara. Rabbi Zir b'Shem Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Zir b'Shem Rabbi Chanina both said, Simtios, Shevein Amudim, if you have little alleyways between the pillars of Rosh Hashanah, you know, you ever been to the corridor, they have pillars along the side, so little alleys among the pillars are like carmelets. Rabbi Shimon bar Chia bar Yehuda b'Shem Rabbi Chanina said, Pirchei Amudim, and I don't have a good translation of this, but he says that he's talking about where the pillars have ornamentation, the shape of flowers down below. So they are nidon kekarmelis. They are similar to a carmelis. Well, as opposed to Shusarabim. Not as opposed to Shuyachim, but as opposed to Shusarabim.
Someone wants to hang some stuff from it or something.
Right. Rashua bar Chia bar Yehuda b'Shem Rabbi Chanin. Rashua bar Chia bar Yehuda b'Shem Rabbi Chanin said, Pirchei Amudim. Oh, did I mess up before?
No. You're just backtracking now.
Okay, sorry. Pirchei Amudim don't carmelets. Lochein tzrichin. You should know where we're saying this b'gvoim shlosha. Even they're more than three, when they're more than 3 tvachim above the ground, they are still considered to be in that case, as if they're on the ground, and therefore they create a constitution. I didn't get there yet. Yeah. Rashua bar Chia bar Yehuda again. Rashua bar Chia bar Yehuda said, Pirchei Amudim nidonim b'karmelis lochein tzricha, which is low cane, tzricha b'gvoim shlosha. We're talking even where they're more than 3 feet above the ground, they still have a din of carmelis. Why is that? I think I just messed up. Even if it's less than 3 tvachim. No, if it's more than 3 tvachim. If it's more than 3 tvachim, still a carmelis.
I guess I don't understand the 3 tvachim. It's a significant
crowd is usually local. It's connected to
Right, so now I see I like the Korban Eda better than the Rosh. So really saying the same thing. Here.
The other thing is that it's okay if someone other than Cohen.
No, it hasn't. You already know.
Or if it's okay if someone other than the drinker.
Okay, there's your pillar. Pirchei Amudim. It's not like that. This is the pillar. These are the Pirchei Amudim. Underneath here is a carmelis.
Between the Pirchei Amudim and the ground.
Right, that's a carmelis.
So it's like a bridge. It's the bridge that was under the land part.
What, this is a bridge?
It's like it.
Right.
Underneath there's like
No, true. So the chiddush is, this is only true when it's more than 3 tvachim off the ground. If this distance over here is more than 3. Because otherwise, if it's less than 3, so it's lower to the ground. Whatever the ground is, or it's going to be, the Rishus Rabim or Rishus Yochim, but it's not going to have a separate identity. Rav Amar, Kibbutz Rav said, Koma Akiv Dorsa Rishus Harabim, anything which impedes upon walking Rishus Harabim, you don't make a karmelis. It's like a karmelis. Says Marabonik, Yitzhak asked, Omri, they asked, Afilu Kaitzan, Afilu Schulus, what if you have stored, what are they called? Thorns. You have thorns or broken glass. So in that case, place in Rishus Harabim is not going to be a karmelis? So guess the more answers. Yes, it is the karmelis. Says more lochein tzricha b'shein gavah shloisha. Yeah, and the chiddush is that even where they're less than 3 tefachim, if people don't walk in that area of Rishus Harabim, that's already considered to be a karmelis, which I don't recall at all from the Bavli, but it seems that it is. Nobody points out, so I assume I'm recalling correctly. I thought that as long as there's 3 tefachim in the ground, no matter how much it impedes the walking, it's still considered to be part of the Rishus Harabim. Here it says not that way. He says it depends if it impedes the walking or not.
We had cases where the storekeepers had push carts in front of their stores, and the people couldn't walk straight. Wasn't that considered a karmelis?
Yes, that's certainly considered a
push carts
karmelis.
were.
Well, the push carts themselves, they just made walking difficult. That makes everything a karmelis.
So if they were less than 3 tefachim.
Yeah, but push cart's not going to be less than 3 tefachim. No, that's not going to. We're talking about where the total height is less than 3 tefachim on the ground. Okay, Vam Rabbi Yosef said, Iskupa Shamru. The threshold which they were talking about, which is like a karmelis, Ruchav Arba, it's 4 tefachim wide, Vena Glosar, but it's not 10 tefachim wide. Ask Mara, in Tamar, if you're going to say, Gavoa Asora, V'ruchav Arba, forgot what this means. 1 second.
I have no complaint with it's not bad. Other than
It's not in the school, it's Rishus.
All right, it's all part of the line of reasoning. It's not a question. It's part of the statement. If you're going to say it's 10 tefachim wide, but not 4 tefachim wide,
doesn't necessarily prove what he's saying.
other than marchista, so then that's the same thing.
There's a line.
Which one?
In Tamar Gavah Sarah.
Oh, in Tamar Gavah Sarah V'rochav Arba. So then Rishus B'ifnei Atzmo, obviously Rishus Yachid unto itself. There's no question that a scuba should be anything else. In Tamar Gavah Sarah V'eino Gavah Arba, if you're going to say it's 10 tefachim wide, but not 4 tefachim wide, and it's like Rav Chisda said, B'shem Masi. Kohen notes Rishus Harabim, if you have a peg or a stick stuck into Rishus Harabim, Ugva Asor, and it's 10 tefachim high, Mutar L'kan L'kan. So then you're allowed to carry from one side of the stick to the other side of the stick. What principle falls into place then? Why are you allowed to do that? What?
If you say, I don't find anything particularly.
Yeah, it is Malkum Torah.
I don't find anything that would be.
It's not one of the 4 Rishuyos.
True, but it is a Malkum Torah. Because it's 10 tefachim wide, it's not 4 tefachim wide.
I thought that's what you need for Malkum. That's where it's 4 tefachim.
There's Rishus Yachid. Has to be a Malkum Torah. Chada the Mar Rav Chisda b'shem Rav Asi, b'shem Asi, but Rav Chisda the name of Asi. The Kohen notes Rishus Harabim, you have a stick stuck in Rishus Harabim. Kavah Asar Tefachim Mutar L'kan L'kan. It's 10 tefachim high. As long as it's not 4x4, you could use it both with the Rishus Harabim and the karmelis. Uvat shlo yachlif. As long as you don't go through the Malkum Torah, use it as a vehicle by which to effect transfer. That we don't permit. That's too much of a ruse, a subterfuge. We don't do that. We're talking about the found case. It's not 4 wide, nor is it 10 high. So what is it? A karmelis. That's a karmelis. Okay? In order to be a Mocha P'tur, it has to be either 10 high or 4. Not and. 10 high.
Right?
Oh, for Mokum.
That's right. Upper has to be 10 high. If it's
Oh, yeah.
Listen.
something fishy. Carbonated gashes it. I knew something's wrong here. Alakena kayamin b'she'ena rechav lo rechava. The carbonated takes that out. Take a look at the last carbonated. Last five words on the page. It is rechava. Because the karmas can be 4 tvachim. Our karmas can be super wide, right? There's no shiur for limited karmas. Dirty trick here. Alakena kayamin. Again, let's read it over again. Alakena kayamin. We're talking about over this. Rechava arba and v'lo gvasara. It's 4 tvachim wide, but not 10 tvachim wide. So Rishus Ramim is less than 10, but it has to be more than 4x4. A Rishus Yachid is more than 10, and it's more than 4x4. A Mocha P'tur is more than 10, but less than 4x4. A Carmelis is less than 10, but more than 4x4. Okay? Those are 4 things, right? So, again, let's start on the bottom again of Haman base. Okay, we'll tell you about over here. Rechava arba, where it's 4 tvachim wide. V'lo so it's not 10 tvachim wide. Is koipel shlivnei Pesach. Now, this threshold, which might be a karmelis, which is in front of your door. It's in front of your door, which is important to remember. Your door closes on the inside of this threshold. Others say as long as the door is open, the entire askupa, the entire threshold is like inside. You can carry from the threshold to your door. No kulachutz. If it's locked, then it's all like outside. It's going to cause you a major problem with what? No. Think Shabbos.
If it's not.
Shabbos keys. Can't use a Shabbos key. Once the door is closed, so the askaipa where you are then becomes a carmelis. You can't take it out. No Shabbos keys. Okay, I think the post can mitigate this somewhat, but that's really what it comes out. So so it says more. Wait a minute. Let's get reasonable here. Monica, what are we talking about? If the Rishus Yachid is roofed over, I feel pasul kulachutz, even if it's open, it's all like outside. What are we talking about? Rather, b'shechetzu makura. I skipped, right? Let me start again for the third line. Would say about a case that's roofed over, I feel no kulachutz, even if the doorway is locked, still the threshold has this chashivus.
It's a continuation of the house.
Right. I don't know if I buy that.
Well, it says if it's roofed over, I presume that including that scoop.
No, but it's P-Tikra. It's not because it's threshold continuation house, it's because of P-Tikra. That's what they say over here. It can be continuation of the house. The house's door is closed. It doesn't. It loses its status of continuation. It's got to be another reason. So the reason we give is because of P-Tikra. Because you have on the scope, you have 2 walls, and the back wall where the door is, and then you have overhead a roof. And as long as the roof is more than tefach wide, that qualifies as P-Tikra. That's
Right, yeah. So therefore, if it's Yored V'Sosei, therefore what?
And carry inside.
I see.
Okay. So it says more. If it's roofed over, I feel no. Even the door's locked. So it's all inside. And on the other end, v'im b'shein makor, if it's not about a case where there was no roof, so then I feel pasul kol chutz, even if it's open, the whole thing is like outside, right? There's no roof. How are you going to attribute it to the inside? We're talking about the following case. Half of it is roofed over. In other words, the threshold is 4 tvachim. Half of which is roofed and half of it is not. So then, what's the halacha? Mao. No, if the door is locked, even under the beam, you're not allowed to use the askupa. Do you have this in your mind's eye? You understand what's going on here? No?
It's like an ante-room. It's like a porch.
Right.
Right? So half the porch is roofed and half of it isn't. Which way, does it matter which way the door is opening?
No, it makes no difference.
This porch
Always opens on the inside.
doors usually open to the inside.
Right.
Before I thought I was saying the door open to the outside.
I deny it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to draw this. I don't know if I can do it.
Trying to think of it like here in house in Chicago, many times you'll have, like, going into a restaurant, you'll have a door, a little ante room on the outside, so that when you open up, the cold air doesn't go into the restaurant. So that would be something like this. Like going into chemist.
Here's two tefachim. So sorry, I experienced it and never enjoyed. Two tefachim. Here's the doors. So here's the askupa, which is 4 tefachim in total, and you have 2 tefachim covered and 2 not. So if the doors are open, so these 2 schlep along these 2. If the doors are closed, then these 2 schlep along these 2. That's what we're saying. Okay? Is that clear? Mr. Zuger? Let's explain it to him.
Covered by the outer area.
It's not covered. It's bottled. It's toppled there.
Right. Going into Ken's diner.
Yeah.
With the outside
Right.
area being half a roof.
Okay.
Is that best way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half a roof which way? Horizontal? I mean, in other words,
Yeah.
going through here.
Crosswise.
Okay.
Or the first couple of spots,
Okay,
and as you go
so you
into
have 2 sets of doors you're going into. You own the first set of doors halfway covered, the back part. Then what?
Ken's is covered all the way when you walk in the door.
well, that's what I'm saying.
Let's say it's only halfway covered. So then what?
So if the door is open,
Right.
if the door is open, you can have it. Go ahead.
So if the door
Yeah.
is open,
Yeah.
then what happens is you are covered by the covered area. Therefore, you can carry. If the door
Even beyond the covered area.
beyond the covered area.
The more is going to disagree with that momentarily, but this is the chiddush at this stage.
Okay.
If the door is open,
Yeah.
the covered area is only 2 tefachim, but you can cover the entire threshold.
That's okay. Then.
If the door is closed, that's what you meant before. I guess we're not.
I guess maybe.
If the door is
Otherwise, there's no big deal then.
Right.
Of course.
if the door is closed, so that you can't even cover carrying the 2 tefachim which are covered, because they're tafel, they're subsidiary, so become subsidiary, for want of a better word, to the outer area which is not covered. Still clueless?
That's good.
Okay, so it says again, let's read inside. We're talking about when the 5th line down. We're talking about the following case. When half of it is roofed over, when half is not roofed over. Mao. What's halacha? No, if it's lakul klachutz, everything, even the part which is roofed over, is like outside, and it's also carry. Mutar lishtamish b'toicha. Mutar lishtamish b'toicha lachutz min hachutz l'toicha. In other words, even underneath the roof, since the door is locked, it's considered to be as if it's outside. So they're allowed to take stuff from this area to this area and from this area to that area. Right, even though there's no connection between the two. Well, I don't know if there's no connection is the right word, but even though this is not obviously connected to here, nonetheless, this is already considered to have lots of chashivas as part and parcel of outside. That's why I said in that case you wouldn't be able to use your key or Shabbos key on Shabbos, because there's no place outside the door you're allowed to carry. So you wouldn't be allowed to take a Shabbos key. Okay? So it says Gemara.
What mitocha is referring to what?
Tocha means tocha the chutz. Yeah, not tocha the theme here. Okay? So it says Gemara, it's misleading. Ukshu b'pesach, or what about if there's a hole in the door? This is like to pass stuff through. So you're not allowed to use from inside the house, from inside the threshold to the hole, nor from the inside of the hole to the threshold, because like it's all over again. Rabbi Nosson Omeri argues. He says no, if it's closed, kula kachutz. Oh, there's like outside. That I grant you. However, Pasuach, the door is open. So you can never say that this part over here is considered as if it's part of that. That's untenable. That's what you were saying before, I think, right?
Right. So, but that's
okay. But again, Pasuach chetz rivnin chetz chutz. Ultimately, you have to be under the roof in order for it to work. So remember that we not want to say askupa arba, askupa 4 tfachim, miachar shenyina ladeles pesel kula chutz. Even if the roof was 4 tfachim, not just 2 tfachim, there was a meaning to say that when the door is closed, the whole entire thing is going to be outside. Afksha pesel basuach. Now, when you have a skupa, which only the roof is only 2 tfachim wide, so even if the door is open, leaf name, chetzach leaf name, all he happens like inside, chetzach roots and half it retains character of being outside. Okay? Well, yeah, new Mishnah. That's it for Otzah. I mean, it'll come up later on, but in the Bavli, I think goes on for another 13 plus. Okay. Lo yeshevodam lifnei asaper, a person should not sit in front of a barber, samach mincha right before mincha time, even on a weekday, obviously. Until he davens. They shouldn't go to a bathhouse, burski nor a tannery, nor to eat, ladun, nor to judge. If ever you began, aim of seeking, you don't have to stop. One can stop for Kriya Shema, one must stop for Kriya Shema, because that's what the Raisa Gemara will say. And instead of feeling not for Shemon Esrei. Okay? Anatinan Samuch Lumincha. We learned in our Mishnah that it's adjacent to Mincha. Tai Rabbi Chia said, Samuch HaShech, we're talking about right before nightfall, not right before the Zman gets here, which is logical to say. Perhaps. Well, I don't know if it's logical. I take that back. So Rabbi Chia said it's right before nightfall. Our Mishnah needs a price of Rabbi Chia to elucidate it. Rabbi Chia to and Rabbi Chia's price requires our Mishnah to elucidate it. How so? Says the Gemara, Ilutan Rabbi Chia v'lo anon, which is that mention Rabbi Chia's case of Achucha Shecha, and not our Mishnah of Samuch Lemincha. So that it would have said, Havami would have said, what's that? Yeah, it would have just said that Rabbi Chia's case, right, which is at Samuch HaShecha, wouldn't have said our case, which is Samuch Lemincha. So I would have thought. I don't know what I mean. We would have thought. No, Blotin and Onan. Harmin Lo El Chashecha would have said that all these things are enumerated on Mishnah, only also from adjacent to nightfall, not from the time Mincha starts. HaMincha Lo Mincha Lavitzur Masita, but by the Mincha time, which is earlier than Samach Chashecha, Mishnah would have had a question and obviously would have been able to engage in all activities. And Ilu Tana. Here's a reverse order. It's a typo. Tana Anon. If you would have just said our Mishnah, the Lotin Rabbi Chia, not learned Rabbi Chia's brisa, Harmi would have said Kulu Titnihan, even those things that are going to be in a later Mishnah where it mentions Achach Sheikha. So I would have thought it's also going on Mincha. So also much earlier in the day it becomes also, not just later on, right before nightfall. So therefore, the Kulan Titnina Chashecha. And
don't fool around with it when you need it. Don't, when you first bring it up, don't bring anything as well.
And I would have thought that all those that say Chashecha, I'm sorry, and all those that would have been mentioned, I would have said it's still nightfall, or the standard is still slightly before nightfall, because I would have learned from the case of Rabbi Chia. I don't know, it's confusing, I'm sure. I should say it outside, it'd be much quicker. In this Mishnah, we have it says, don't weigh the stuff adjacent to Mincha. In the next Mishnah, it says, don't do a bunch of stuff right before Chashecha. So Rabbi Chia learned in our Mishnah also Chashecha. Says Mishnah, it's very useful to have Rabbi Chia's brisa in conjunction with our Mishnah. Our Mishnah needs Rabbi Chia, and Rabbi Chia needs our Mishnah. Our Mishnah needs Rabbi Chia to tell us that it's really also not my Mishnah in Mincha time, which could be for that matter 12:30 in the afternoon, right?
Maybe it's Plag Mitzvah.
Maybe in Plag, but that's not what it is. It's right before nightfall. So we need Rabbi Chia's clarification that it's not immediate, it's right before nightfall. Rabbi Chia needs the clarification of our Mishnah. Because that Rabbi Chia not have our Mishnah would have said Samach Hashem means my Mishnah minute before dark. So he needs Mincha in order to tell us that it's sometime before that. So each Mishnah on Brisa is complemented by the other Mishnah or Brisa. Okay, that's what I really meant to say. So it says Gemara. Where am I up to? Mimad Tisa Mincha, Tisa Rabbi Chia, Ruba says the branches our Mishnah, which says out of Mincha. Imagine Rabbi Chia the Great, who said until Samach Hashecha. So Hadamra, this comes to teach us Afilu Chashecha Tinem Basra, even Chashecha, which mentioned in the next Mishnah, the Mincha, it's referring to Mincha. So Chashecha here is a very broad parameter. So Afilu again, let me read it over again. Hadamra Afilu Chashecha Tinem Basra Mincha, even Chashecha, which is mentioned later in the parak, is not considered to be Chashecha of true darkness, but Chashecha when already it's getting dark. Okay? Rabbi Chia Chanina ben Achud Rabbi Yeshua Amar Masni, he said a different reconciliation between our Mishnah and Rabbi Chia. What's the reconciliation? Masnisin b'amei haaretz. Our Mishnah is talking about Amaratzim. Those Amaratzim. So in order to get them, we have to make life more difficult for them. So if we say they're not allowed to start all these things adjacent to Mincha. That's about Chachamim. They know to gauge themselves. Therefore, you can let them start the meal or whatever, even right before nightfall. Chabon in the case of Ramin, Masti saying Rabbi Yehuda. Our Mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda holds Plaga Mincha. That's what it says out of Mincha. Whereas Rabbi Chia's brisa, we might have tied Rabbi Chia, Rabbanan who hold that when is the Seif Zman Kriyash Mincha? At Shkia. So therefore our Mishnah, which holds the Seif Zman, is at Plag, so it says Samach Mincha, right before Plag. Don't do anything else, go and hop to davening. Whereas later on, it's about a case where we said that, as I mentioned before, it's about a case where we even hold like Rabbanan, the Mincha goes till Shkia Sachama, and therefore all these melachos only become forbidden when? Adjacent to Shkia Sachama. Samuch, not lemincha, but samuch le chashecha. That's why the difference in terminology. Okay?
Another proof that the Rabbanim were not Hasidim.
They weren't Chassidim. No, they were. They went to Shkia and beyond. That's Chassidim, I'll tell you. They didn't stop the flag with the Chassidim. Ravana went to Mincha to and beyond. Okay. Says when I leave near a sap or some Mincha, you shouldn't sit before a barber right before Mincha actually spalo. Well, until you daven, because miracles, you shouldn't go to the bathhouse. As close as operates, when is it considered to be the beginning of the haircut that you know that you can finish the haircut, you don't have to get up and daven? Once he starts shaving you. We see they weren't Lubavitchers in Eretz Yisrael. Ask Gemara about Taiti, we learn. A person sits to shave. And they come and say, your father died. You got to sit Shiva, and you're not allowed to shave anymore. I raise the mashlim is roisho. You're allowed to finish your head for Kavod Abrios. Because you can't go with half a beard, right, for all that veils. Echram is true both about the person getting the shave, and the person giving the shave. Ask the Gemara. Now, what the Gemara doesn't ask, but means to ask, is that if for a Doraisa, not to shave on the first day of Avelis is Doraisa. Because we hold Avelis the first day is Doraisa. So if not to shave, you're allowed to finish. Not to shave Doraisa, you're allowed to finish once you sat in the barber's chair and you start work. Of course, you don't have to stop for davening once you start in the barber's chair. So, because there's only the Rabbanan to daven. So it must be an arm, but Mishnah's talking about, and you don't have to stop. Must be even after an earlier time. You don't have to stop. In sync with the fact that we're talking about the Rabbanan is supposed to Doraisa. So it says the Gemara we should have an earlier standard. Actually, not an earlier standard, a different standard. So it says the Gemara. Well, it is an earlier standard. Says the Gemara. Lo asiyok shemis mishisate pulontis. No, when is considered to be the beginning of a haircut for our purpose? When the guy puts the apron on you. That's considered the beginning of the haircut. Okay? As far as America says, what's the beginning of the bathhouse? That you don't have to daven right then. You continue taking your bath. Rabbi Zirah Misharich said, Amar Mishayati Yadir Chagura, once you loosen the belt. Rav Amar Mishayat Miel, once you take off your shoe. B'kado, what is this like? Rabbi Shimon Levi. Fascinating Gemara. Have Yoliv Shama Parshas Amim Barbare. He was accustomed to hear the Parshas Hashavua from his grandson. B'chol Rav Shabbos, every year of Shabbos. Chadzman Inshe. One day he forgot. V'al, and he went in Mischei to swim Erev Shabbos, the mikveh, by the Musa of Tveria, the certain pool in Tveria. He was leaning on the shore of Chia Barba. Inar, he reminded himself, he recalled, Lo Shama Parshas, Barbare. He didn't hear yet the parsha from his grandson. So he left the bathhouse to go hear the parsha. Ma'ava, where was he holding? Was he undressed when he remembered that already? Rabbi Troisi Amar Kachava. Was given as Vimir. He was fully dressed. He hadn't started getting undressed yet. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yisrael, Shaliach Manoy Avoy. He already taken off his clothes. Well, be that as it may, Chia Barabba said, wait a minute, for Lokain Ilfan Rabbi, didn't you teach us? What was this midas chasidus you demonstrated? This is not even to daven or to learn. See, not even to daven, Shemon Esrei or Kriyash I meant to say. It is learning. But why'd you have to be mafsik? You already took off your clothes. Why do you have to go to be Mekayim this mitzvah of hearing? That's what Gemara basically said. Well, Gemara doesn't say that, but Gemara says something similar. Amar Leisi said, Chia b'ni, Chia my son, Kali beinecha, it's so light in your eyes that I shouldn't learn with my grandson. Shekol HaShomea, very interesting quote, it's not in the Bavli. Shekol HaShomea, Parsha, anybody hears the Parsha, Ben Benoy from his grandson, Kilushoimami Har Sinai, it's as if he heard it on Mount Sinai. Matama Pasuk teaches us this, for Datum Livanecha, Livnei Vanecha, you should teach your children and your grandchildren, Yom HaShamat Livnei Hashem Elkecha B'chorev, the day you stood before God in Har Sinai. So if you teach your grandchildren, you hear the Parsha of them, it's if you're giving over the third Mount Sinai. Rabbi Chizkiah, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yochanan said, in general, if you have a tradition which you can attribute all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu, Shaushlo, go all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Bring Lavin, if not, Tfoso Usa Rishon, at least give us the name of the first guy who said it, or Achron, or the last guy who said it just before you. Why is that? Because
Special kedusha that only Aaron is only, all
Matam.
coming together, and obviously you see the whole other situation also was attacked.
What's the puzzle teacher says? Tell your sons and grandchildren, the day is still before God and Chorev, which teaches us that you have to always tell them stuff. That's a general libur. Gidu Amar, here's a more specific one, which is Bavli appears in a different version. He said that but it says the name of the person originally said it. Oh, this is not at all the Bavli. I'm sorry, this is not the praise. He says the name of somebody says it. You should visualize in his mind's eye that the original person who made the statement is in front of him. This is amazing. Only with Tzilam, literally you read it with the shadow, but here it means in the image. You only can go in the image of somebody else. That's like for Yuenecha Rosas Morecha. You got to see your Rebbe in his inflections and nuances in order to fully understand what's going on, right? And therefore you should see him in your mind's eye when you quote him.
So that's when Nefesh HaChaim got it first.
Well, yeah, and Ksiv, it says, Rava Dam Mikori Ish Chazdo. Many people wrote Bnei Adam. Most people say, I'm a big Baal Chesed. But Ish Emunim Mim, so where are you going to find a trustworthy person? They're all full of baloney. So it says tomorrow, Rava Dam Rava Dam Mikori Ish Chazdo Zeh Sharko, and that's everybody else. Yishemuni means so who can find a trustworthy person? Say Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Zira is very trustworthy. Why? Because he's very meticulous in what he hears. How do we know that? The Rabbi Zira said, we don't have to pay attention to what Rav Sheshes says. Ignore him. When he says so you name them for somebody else. Why? Do Gavra Ma'ava Gavra Fatcha. He was blind. So since he couldn't see the person who was saying it over, he couldn't accurately report, and we can't trust what he says over. So Rabbi Zira is very medactic that. Rabbi Zira said to Rabbi Yasa, Chachim Rabbi Lebar Padaya, Rabbi Yasa, my Rabbi, did you ever see Bar Padaya? That you say stuff over in his name? How can you do it? So he said, Rabbi Yochanan said it over in his name. I saw Rabbi Yochanan saw Bar Padaya, it's like tag, and therefore it's if I saw him. And similarly, Rabbi Zil, Rabbi Babar Zavta, Rabbi Zira said to Rabbi Babar Zavta, Chochim Rabbi L'Rav, did you ever see Rav, that Amar Shmotzim and Shmei, you say things over in his name? So he said, Avada Bravo, I saw Avada Bravo, who said it over in his name. Okay, V'lo Burski, you can't go into a tannery right before Mincha. Says Marisa Chame, come and see, B'teilim Rimenu Sharei Chorah. It says that you're not mafsik. He's not mafsik, right? So of course he can't be mafsik. He stinks. Nobody else allowed to daven with him. There's no tila b'tzil for this guy. You can't daven in his presence. You say that it's a chiddush, it's pashut. Nobody can daven with the guy. It's putrid. What it means is that he didn't really start yet. Then it's obvious. You can't be mitzaref him for a minyan. It means even if he already put on his tanning garments, at that point he's exempt from minyan until he finishes the tanning process. Okay, we'll stop here for today.